Tokso, but I do have some fond memories. So I moved from St. Joe, Missouri to Creedmoor, and my first day was January 2nd, 2003. And Tokso was one of the very first to welcome me, and I kind of just parked in my office, and he comes in and he says, you parked in the wrong spot. What are you talking about? Parked in the wrong spot. He said, come with me. So I follow him, and Tokso's walking past. So I'm walking past, and Tokso and I are walking about the same speed, similar to Pierre. And he walks out the side entrance, and he like stops, and he says, that's your spot. It's literally the closest spot. He said, that's your spot. I said, what are you talking about? That's my spot. He said, that's where you're supposed to park. I said, Tokso, I don't need a special prize parking spot. I said, I can park wherever I show up, whatever time I get to work. So Tokso was like, okay, and we made that a visitor spot. So that was my very first memory of Tokso. So over the years, Tokso was, as you know, the guy who would fix things, who things are down and day or night, third shift, just creative, like you guys all said. And I remember going out into HMCs and back in the old winding days with Harry, right, when the winders weren't working, and just kind of like maybe trying to offer suggestions, but then just getting out of the way and watching the chaos happen. But the winder would start working, in about 4 hours. And then we finally got the MVP winder and that masterpiece. And I would get calls from John Steisinger, is that winder working yet? And it took he said 3 years to get up and running. It didn't take 3 years, but it took a long time. But then it ran for a lot of years before we finally replaced it with the new one, thank God, right? So you all know about Tokso's green thumb. He was so kind, he gave me this beautiful little bonsai tree, and I brought it home. And I tried to care for it, Christine tried to care for it, but ultimately apparently we let it go too far like Cynthia. And I brought it back to Tokso, and he tried to nurse it back to health, but it died. And I know how much he cares and what a green thumb he has, and I killed the bonsai tree, and I apologize, Tokso. Then I want to talk about, the grill. Obviously, I remember the good old days when we did the old grills, and we were in there burning our knuckles, cooking United Way lunches and second shift and just getting singed. And then we got this new fancy grill, and all of a sudden, Patrick was happy to do United Way lunches because it was just automatic, So I'm burning my knuckles, and then anyway. So that grill was a lifesaver, and then the second grill was a lifesaver for Hurricane Helene. Most of you know, when Helene hit in September of 24, we sent a team. A lot of people in this room went out there and spent a lot of time out there. But Tokso became a legend out there because he never stopped working. He was just as you all know, working ridiculously fast, just feeding literally thousands of people, and people just saw how much Tokso cared just about everything. But he but he cared a lot about that grill. and there was literally no one who was truly capable of running the grill like Tokso was. And finally, I think, Patrick, you were like, I don't know how many days Tokso had been there in a row. It's 5 days in a row. Operating on 3 hours of sleep a night. He made his tent. His tent's out of cardboard. Tokso slept outside, and he made a cardboard tent. And were you on an air mattress? I don't even know what you were on. But anyway.
We had air mattresses.
Okay, all right. So I was on Jeff Mooney's floor of his office. He was out there by the grill. But I think it was Patrick who said, we got to get Tokso out of here. I don't know, David Ashman, did you say that? We got to get him out of here. It's because either he's going to kill someone or someone's going to kill him. So we sent Tokso home, but the grill survived. Maybe not as clean or not as organized or not as productive as it could have been, but we still came cooking. And then he came back, and you were much more relaxed when he came back. But it just shows that, I think it was literally Helene hit on the Thursday. We couldn't talk to anyone Friday, Saturday. We got Sean Leslie connected on Sunday. And on Monday morning was it David and Tokso hooked up the grill and were driving to Helene, having no idea what you were getting into, whether you had communications, power, water. And that just shows you who Tokso is and what kind of person he is. So I'll just say this, Tokso is in my top 5 favorite people at Altec. Tokso's in my wife's, Christine's, top 2 people. She has such fond memories of Tokso, literally over the decades, whether we were having Christmas dinners or family days or just the interactions. She treasured how much he took time to get to know her and spend with her. And Tokso, like Cynthia said, It was so fun to get to know your family. You know, Adrian, I feel like I've heard you grow up over the decades, and obviously Priscilla, when you joined the family in more recent memory, it's just been such a joy to meet you all, and I'm so thankful that you're all here to support Tokso. I will personally miss Tokso, just knowing that he's not going to be here every day, and that's gonna make me pause. But you mean the world to me, Tokso, and I wish you the absolute best.